Hi, this is Danny Doyle, and in celebration of my Mario Party 3 No Reset run, I am doing a tier list of the Mario Parties. I promise I'm not just pivoting to Mario Party content. This is still primarily a Fire Emblem channel. You know, I do throw in other games from time to time. I don't want to restrict myself just to the Fire Emblem series, but Fire Emblem will always remain the core of the content. But Mario Party is another series that I really enjoy. So I want to rank the games. So, my ranking criteria, it's very subjective. Mario Party is a game about having fun. I like the minigames, I like the boards. There's a lot of things that I like about Mario Party. I don't like when it's, like, entirely chance-based, but I do think there should be a good amount of chance in Mario Party. It's hard to sort of, like, set criteria other than just how much I personally enjoy it. And I know that that's like unhelpful and super subjective, but that's just sort of, you know, it's my list. It's how much I like them. I'm also going to make it clear that there are some games on here I have never played, which will end up in this sort of convenient never played tier. And then there are some games that I've played but not completed, and those will be ranked. I am not of the belief that you need to complete something in order to be able to adequately rank it. I think that if I played something enough and didn't like it and could identify why I didn't like it, I am allowed to put it down, and I'm still allowed to have an opinion on that, right? I don't believe that you need to delve into every aspect of a game to recognize that it is not for you, and this is just, you know, my subjective opinions, but you can go ahead and pretend that they're objective because I'm a YouTuber, and therefore my opinions hold more weight than the average plebs. You know, just kidding, but go ahead and clip that out of context, Lamau. Anyway, Mario Party 1. I'm gonna start off by getting real controversial. Mario Party 1 sucks. I know it's like the root of the series, but goddamn, they did not know what they were doing. Every single board is very, like, it's very chance-based, so there's no items. So you can't do anything to influence your board position other than, on the boards where there are branching paths, choose to take one or two paths. So there's, like, Donkey Kong's Jungle, where there's forks that you can pay to go on one fork. Like, one will be guarded and you can pay to have it switch what the other is guarded, or you can go down the free one. Or not switch, it switches if you go down the free one. You can pay to go down the one that is guarded, or you can go down the free one and that switches. So that board in particular is actually, like, super turn order dependent. There's some very linear boards as well. I think there's at least one, there's a couple of boards that have no branching paths, like Peach's Birthday Cake. It technically has a branching path, but it's not one you can choose. So it's literally just, like, it is all based on how much you roll on dice, and since there's no item shop, it's just random generated. As for the minigames, like, the minigames are the one aspect where no matter what the board is, and the boards are very fucking linear, the minigames are the aspect of the game where you at least have some amount of influence. But Mario Party 1's minigames are incredibly ass. Don't get me wrong, I think it's super raw that, like, a lot of games are just, like, they'll steal coins from people. Like, there's a minigame where it's a 1v3, and the 1 is just running around, and the 3 are stealing coins from them. That's incredibly funny. It's unbalanced, but 1v3 games have never been balanced, let's be honest. But it's incredibly funny. It's also incredibly dumb, because Mario Party 1 minigames have, like, 3 methods of working. Mashing, spinning the circle stick, and then occasionally you'll get just, like, a standard regular-ass minigame, like Shy Guy Says, or, like, the light bulb one or stuff. But yeah, garbage mechanics, just because, like, no items. Boards tend to be pretty bad. Even when remade with modern mechanics, which we'll get to in Superstars, the boards are not the greatest. I think they're improved when you add, like, item shops and stuff, but the boards are generally not great in Mario Party 1, and the minigames are god-awful. Even the ones that aren't just mashing and circle sticking, stick circling, whatever, the Stigmata games, they're still not great. I think Mario Party 1 is an F-tier Mario Party, and I don't think anyone's ever going to convince me otherwise. Mario Party 2, I will admit, I don't have a ton of experience with. I've played it a little bit, but not a ton. And what I have has been mostly, I've played a few times with other people, but it's mostly been against the computer, like on a Nintendo PC. My playing against other people with Mario Party 2 was limited to when I was a kid, so like, you know, nostalgia goggles or whatever. But nostalgia goggles don't help it. It's better than 1. I'll give it that, because it has items, but I believe it's only 1 inventory slot, and I mean, it just doesn't allow for the amount of play that later Mario Parties do. Obviously, the costumes are really cool. The theme of Mario Party 2 is like you're in an amusement park, right? Like it's Disney World, but Mario. It's Nintendo Land before Nintendo Land. And then I don't know if each board is supposed to be its own theme park. I kind of look at it like Disney World, where like, you know, you've got Disney World and you go to the Land of Imagination, the Land of Buzz Lightyear, the Sci-Fi Land, the fucking, all the different lands, right? So like in Mario's theme park, Cowboy Land is one, Haunted Land is one, Bowser Land is one, but I guess it could be that each board is its own theme park. I guess, you know, either interpretation is valid. But that's what leads to the costumes, right? I think the boards are pretty okay, actually. I'm not super high on the Mario Party 2 boards, but I'm not super low on them either, as we'll get to some, like, later entries. I think there's some god-awful board entries. But I think 2 has some okay-ish boards, but they just sort of aren't memorable outside of costumes. And speaking of not memorable, I don't know that any minigames from 2, like, stick out in my mind, in my memory. I think it's not so egregious as to line up in F tier, but I do think D tier is appropriate. And now my cat is making noise in the background, so I'll be right back. Okay, Mercury had the zoomies, she's calmed down, so I can move on to one of my favorite Mario Parties, Mario Party 3. This game is fucking peak. I will fully admit, like, there is an amount of nostalgia associated with 3. Like, I've talked about it on the No Reset run. However, in playing the No Reset run, which, at the time of recording this tier list, has come to its inevitable conclusion, and then also diving into, like, more minigames, more boards, more stuff since then, holy shit, 3 is so good. Okay, so first off, this is where they first added the 3 items instead of 1, which is a phenomenal change. Like, just the amount of additional play that allows for, like, the various different, like, things you can build, you know, like, you don't have to just have a skeleton key as your only item, right? You can hold on to a mushroom and fire it off when you absolutely need to. There's tons of, like, wacky items, too, like the reverse mushroom, which is so goddamn busted. There's the plunder chest to steal all 3 items. There's dueling glove to initiate a duel. There's like a clock. There's a clock that like just sets it to the last 5 turns. So like if you're in a lead position, you can just be like, oh, I'll just activate the clock. But the clock doesn't just fast forward. Like if you're already past, like if it's 3 turns left to go, right? You can use the clock. I think it's called Wacky Watch. And set it to 5 turns, so like you've extended the game by 2 turns now. It's so fucking raw. Mario Party 3, just the mechanics in and of themselves are gosh darn amazing. The boards are incredible. Like every single board in Mario Party 3 is just chef's kiss. There's various like cool sort of board gimmicks. Each board doesn't have a gimmick in the same extent that like super late Mario parties like 6, 7, and 8 do. But they'll have like unique touches to them, right? Like the lake in the middle of the chilly winters, or like the mirages on the spiny desert. They all just have like cute little touches to them. And I think it's incredible. I think Waluigi's Island is like one of the best final boards that we've ever done. I know that usually they're like Bowser themed final boards, but as much as I like talk about Wario being better than Waluigi, and I maintain that, I think that's true. I think that Waluigi's Island is just like real fucking cool. I really like it. And then that's not even touching on the other half, is that the duels, the dual boards, the battle boards, whatever they're called, the 2-player boards, where you like hire minions to build armies and kill each other. You can have like a front minion, a back minion, and like murder each other. I know that gets incorporated into the story mode, but it's so cool. It's an entire additional mode, so if you don't like it, it doesn't invade on the regular S party. But if you do like it, which I do, it's another way to play through Mario Party that doesn't really have the mini games. You can do just like the mini game Clock Dude, and there's Game Guy stuff. I don't like Game Guy personally, but you know, he exists. He lets you lose all of your money if you land on him, or win if you're lucky. But yeah, Mario Party 3, like the duels are so fucking raw. It's just a cool additional mechanic. It's one of the more fleshed out of like, there's usually additional modes. And this is one of the more fleshed out ones. And it's just neat. I like it. It's like Pokemon, honestly. Who's your Pokemon? Like, my Pokemon is Goomba. My Pokemon is Koopa, you know? It's cool. Bob-omb is a Pokemon. It's cool. I like it. And then you have to pay their wages, too, or they'll quit. It's so funny. It's so funny. The mini-games in Mario Party 3 are also really cool. And this was in the era when, like, they got weird. And instead of, like, you just being people, they just, like, attach your heads to shit, right? Like in modern Mario Party, you would be like riding in a tank, you know, driving the tank or whatever. But in Mario Party 3, they're like, nah, you're a tank with your character's head. Like, you're an airplane with Wario's head on it now, or Mario's head on it, or Waluigi's head, or whoever. You're not driving the plane. You are the plane. You are the hammer. You are the construction, the boulder. You are a fish now. It's so cool. I fucking love this game. S tier Mario Party. It's in contention for the best one. It's like this or 6, which I guess spoils where 6 shows up in the tier list, but 6 is very good too. Now we enter Mario Party 4, and this is going to upset some people. I'll start with the positives, which may give you an indication of where this is going to end up on the tier list. I'll start with the positives. I actually really like the Mega Mini gimmick. This is when Mario Party started having gimmicks in each of its entries. And I guess technically in 2, the costumes are a gimmick, but not really. But this is where they started having gimmicks. And I really like the Mega Mini gimmick. I think it's interesting that, like, rolling extra dice comes at a cost now, and then rolling fewer dice has a benefit. And I think that sort of trade-off, and then like using the hammers to force your opponents into megas and minis, is really, really cool. Is really, really cool. What I don't like is everything else. Aside from Booksquirm, there are no good Mario Party 4 minigames. They're all trash garbage. They're all trash garbage. It's like they spent all of their brain cells coming up with Booksquirm, and then they were like, yeah, let's call it a day. Let's just make the other ones pieces of shit. Let's just make them, like, and not even, like, bad in a way that's entertaining. Just boringly bad. Booksquirm is the only worthwhile Mario Party 4 minigame. I will die on that hill. It has a story mode, but apparently its story mode is just a ripoff of 3's, and it does it poorly, so you lose points for that, because what have you done to my baby? You're the reason there's no more story modes, by the way. So that's rude of you. And then the boards, okay. So, Mario Party 4 likes to do this thing with its boards that some other Mario Parties do, to varying levels of success, but it's basically like this. It'll be like a branching path, but instead of giving you any sort of agency or choice in the branching path, it makes your decision dependent on what the turn order is, right? Which is not terrible as a concept in its own. It can be annoying if, like, you're trying to get to one area of the map, but the bridge, because usually what it is it'll be a bridge that collapses after 1 or 2 or 3 people run across it, and then the bridge goes the other way, right? So, the quintessential example of this in my mind is a Mario Party 5 Sweet Dream, where there's gingerbread bridges that, like, the fork will go onto 2 bridges, and if Mario runs across one bridge, it falls down and the other one gets built, and then Luigi runs across that bridge and it falls down and the other gets built. And typically those are going to, like, sort of branching paths that converge on the same area, right? And Mario Party 4 does this in 3 separate boards. It does it in Toad's Turnway, it does it in Bowser's whatever Bowser, the Bowser board, and it does it in the Goomba Casino. Now, I'll be frank, I haven't played Goomba Casino yet. I've been told that it's a slightly better version in Goomba Casino, but Toad's Turnway and Bowser's Butthead are unfucking forgivable, because what they do is, rather than having this like chance-based turn bring you to two different areas of the board, it's just, do you get to continue forward or do you go on a loop, right? At the start of the board. A loop at the start, like a 10-tile loop at the start, right? So, why this is so bad is that what ends up happening, right, is the first person to go through that goes forward, and then it changes to go to, or rather, in Toad's Turnpike. It's the first person goes through, and then it changes to be the loop. The second person goes through the loop, and it changes to be forward. The third person goes through and gets to go on the actual board, and it changes to the loop. The fourth person goes on a loop, and now the second person is back again, and they get to go onto the actual board. So then the fourth person has to go on a loop again. And basically, one of the four players, whoever rolled the poorest, just doesn't get to play for like 5 to 10 turns. And that's if they're lucky enough that someone else doesn't loop all the way around the board to come and reset it by then. There's always going to be one member of your party that's just not playing. And then it's even worse in Bowser's board, because in Bowser's board, the bridges take 3 instances to collapse. So person number 1, 2, and 3 all get to go on the regular portion, and they get to actually play the fucking game. And then person number 4 has to go on a loop 3 times before they get to go onto the board. So, once again, one player is just randomly determined to not get to play the game. And you don't even have access to, like, an item shop on this loop. So you can't even, like, use a warp pipe to get out because the loop is right at the start. Horrible board design. Horrible board design. That combined with the mini games that I just, like, really don't like, I think it drags the gimmick down low enough that I'm gonna put it in F tier. I really fucking hate this entry. I really fucking hate this entry. I have not played Goomba's Casino, which I've been told does the board loop thing better. But Mario Party 4's like obsession with not giving you agency on where you go on the boards and combining that with loops at the start, just randomly deciding one person doesn't get to play the game never feels good. Like, if you're that person, it doesn't feel good, and if you're that person's competitor, like, it doesn't feel good because you're just not playing against someone now. Like, it's just a free win, and free wins don't feel good, in my opinion. Like, I like the challenge, I like the competition. Mario Party 5 is contentious. Mario Party 5 is definitely a contentious title. This is definitely the most chance-based that the series has been in sort of mainline games, right? I guess other than one where it is pure chance, this is the most chance-based where you have a level of agency, right? So, the gimmick here is the capsule system, which is similar to, but not identical to, orbs. Basically, capsules are, you place them down like orb spaces, but anyone can get affected by them. So you can get affected by your own capsule spaces. If you throw a capsule that like you get half your coins chopped in half, like the Piranha Plant, and you land on it, then your coins get chopped in half, right? You get capsules for free. You can never purchase them. They're just given to you by the capsule machine for free at random. So your items are now chance-based. You can pay coins to use them on yourself, or you can throw them onto spaces. So like, for example, Wiggler, which is the teleport to a star, you can pay 20 coins to use it on yourself, which is what you should do, but if you want to be like a memer, throw it down on the board, and then anyone can land on it and get teleported to the star. So it's sort of like embrace the chaos. Additionally, like, every board starts with some of the capsules already down, and you don't know what they are. You'll see an indication of, like, what category they're in, so, like, if it affects your coin count, it has coins in it. If it affects, like, your orb count, it has orbs in it, or whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. But you don't know what they are, so it could be, like, a give you coins, but it could be a lose you coins, if you see a coin one. In addition to that aspect, a lot of the boards in 5 have, like, some crazy, insane, stuff that can happen. Like, I talked about the gingerbread bridges already, and I think it does it better than 4, in that, like, it is still chance-based, but rather than looping you, it just sends you to different areas, so you could go to the wrong area, but, like, you're still playing the game. You're not just walking in a loop without items. You just might be taking like a longer path or like an advantageous position or whatever. But there's also stuff like fucking, I guess Sweet Dream again we'll talk about. There's a space where you can just steal 3 stars from steal 1 star from each of your opponents, right? Super raw. You can use a chance time item on yourself to activate chance time. Like, chance time is now a capsule, right? So you can use it on yourself to activate chance time. And you are part of the chance time in that instance, which is ridiculous. It's so fucking absurd. You can get like a last 5 turns event that adds 5 star spaces to the board, or rather, it makes there be 5 star spaces, so it adds 4. You can turn every red space into a Bowser space. Like, there's some wacky ass, very swingy shit that can happen in 5. It is definitely like, I feel like that makes it very contentious. And I did criticize Mario Party 1 for, like, just being RNG. I don't think 5 is just RNG. There's some great mini games. There's some board play you can do, like, with the capsules. There's decisions in terms of, like, do I spend the money on the capsule, or do I, like, throw it down and hope to land on it? There's a lot of the boards have, like, branching paths with, like, important decisions, where, like, your economy matters, like spending money to go up paths in Pirate Bay. There's some cool stuff in 5. There's 2 boards in 5 that actually are, like, separated into islands, and you're branching as to whether you, like, what island you go to really matters. Like, that's the Future board and the Rainbow Cloud board. So it does have some amount of, like, player input, which is why, like, just being chance-based and drawn out for 20 turns is never fun, but having player input and being, like, wildly swingy chance-based stuff somehow feels better. Like, the fact that there's so much randomness, but you do have an amount of control, feels better than, like, if everything is predetermined randomness, right? Like, your dice rolls are predetermined in Mario Party, whereas, like, here, you do stuff. But there is so much randomness that it's, like, wacky and fun. I like the chaos. I think I'm gonna put it in A tier. I can totally understand people would have this lower. I totally get it. 6 is an S tier game. I kind of have already talked about that. These are not ordered within the tiers, by the way. These are not ordered within the tiers. I'm just sort of dragging them to where it's convenient. These are, like, my 2 favorite Mario parties. And 6 is, once again, like, really, really great boards. I think every single board in 6 is a banger. This is also where they started having the boards have, like, gimmicks, right? So there's, like, you've got your standard boards where you're just running around and purchasing stars for 20 coins at the star space. But then you've got, like, Fairy Square, where there's 1 stationary star space, and you can buy up to 5 stars at it, which makes for super swingy games, right? And then the price of the star gets randomized at nighttime. I guess I didn't talk about the gimmick of 6 is... So in 6, every 3 turns, it'll change from daytime to nighttime. This is something that happens in 1 board of Mario Party 2, although I think it's a 2-turn timer in that one. It's like Horrorland. But in 6, you get, every 3 turns, it changes from daytime to nighttime, and you can see the countdown every turn as to how many turns it's going to be until it switches. And each board has some sort of change that happens between daytime and nighttime. And in the earlier boards, it's simple things like just paths change or whatever. But in the later boards, like, the price you have to pay to use the Chain Chomp to steal stars is changed. Access to Pink Boo to steal people's stars is changed. The price of a star in Fairy Square, which is, like, the super gamble zone. Whether Bowser or Donkey Kong is prowling the board. I mean, DK spaces and Bowser spaces change between day and night, right? Where daytime it'll be DK space and nighttime it'll be Bowser space. Night tends to be like the more wild and swingy portions of the game, and day is the more traditional. Theoretically, minigames are also altered between day and night, but there's like 6 of them that are. Most are just aesthetic changes. Like, most of the time it just looks different. But there's a few where it is different. Like, there's a 1v3 where, in the daytime, 3 people are shooting lightning clouds at 1 person, but in the nighttime, 1 person is shooting at 3, or maybe vice versa, I don't remember. And then, like, climbing up versus falling down. It's like what goes up and what comes down are the names of the game. It's the same game on the wheel. It's very funny. But yeah, I really like the day-night cycle. I like how it impacts the minigames. I wish it impacted more. on a legitimate level, because a lot of the times it's just aesthetic. But I understand like that would probably mean there's less games overall, and I think people would be upset by that. I think the boards are peak. I think these boards are really, really good. I do not think this is a bad board among the bunch. There's definitely some I prefer more than others. Like Treetop board is just like an intro board, so I definitely like it less just because it's more basic. But like, you know, sometimes you just want to play basic board. Yeah, 6 is very good. 6 is very good. 7 is another one that has like some contentious changes. Also, before I go into 7, 6 is also what changed the capsule system to orbs, and orbs are now like, orbs are the best system of items Mario Party ever had. I love 3s, I almost went down here because I saw the number 3, but I love 3s, like 3 items. I like orbs better, like placing some on spaces, using some for yourself. I think this is better than items, but it took a lot of adjustment to get used to. I think this is definitely better than capsules. Capsules is wild and crazy, but like 6 is, and 7 to an extent, orbs are more strategy based, right? And I think orbs are better than any other system we've had. On to 7. 7's pretty good. It continues the trend of the boards being pretty distinct from each other, and having sort of like themes and gimmicks. You know, you got like Windmillville, where it's a stock market investment. We've got Pagoda Peak, where it is a fully linear climb, where you're rolling high and having a coin count to, or being able to save money on the cheaper star, or having the coin count to take the more expensive ones is sort of the name of the game. You got the traditional, sort of like the canals, and then Bowser's a more traditional one as well. The gimmick, speaking of Bowser, of 7 is Bowser Time, which is every 5 turns, Bowser will have an event that causes chaos. Usually this is meant to be like negative to everyone who participates in it, but sometimes Bowser Time can help you. Like in Windmillville, he'll like destroy windmills, and if he destroys a rival's windmill, then that'll help you. Obviously, he doesn't help everyone. In Pagoda Peak, he like knocks people down, but it's uneven, and some people get knocked down farther. He also like sometimes will just steal money from everyone, and depending on your coin situation, that might be better. But yeah, it's all about like Bowser sabotaging the world tour. I guess aesthetically, the other theme is that it's a world tour. There's some aesthetic themes that go on, like the theme park theme, the dream theme, the world tour theme, the carnival theme, but in general, the theming tends to be like, when I think of theming, I think of it as like a mechanic, right? I like 7. The big thing that I dislike about 7 is the existence of character special orbs. Now, theoretically, I do think it is cool to have like each character, or rather pair of characters, have special orbs, like Fireball is Mario and Luigi's, Birdo and Yoshi get eggs, Wario and Waluigi get vacuum, Magic is Dry Bones and Boo, Triple Mushroom is the Toads, and Flower is the Princesses. I don't think I'm missing any. And it's a similar thing that happened in like Double Dash, right? Where like you have a special item that only 2 people can get. The problem is, by necessity, these end up being super imbalanced. You get like really good ones, like the Flower Orb, which lets you like rake up coins and also avoid fucking traps. And then you get really bad ones, like the Vacuum Orb, which just doesn't get you enough coins to pay for itself. Or like the Fireball Orb, which prevents you from using mushrooms on yourself for 2 turns. Or the Triple Mushroom Orb, which does the same thing for 3 turns. The Magic Orb also does that for 2 turns, or I guess for 1 turn afterwards. But avoiding traps is sometimes like a big enough deal to warrant that. But yeah, I think that like there's a pretty like distinct tier list of the characters in Mario Party 7, and I think that's bad. I think honestly it would be cool if like you could just choose what character orb you want regardless of your character, because the other thing that sucks, right, is there's only 2 of each orb, right? So like let's say you're playing with 4 people and everyone wants the egg orb, right, which is like lets you steal other people's orbs. Tough luck, whoever is the fastest to claim Yoshi and Birdo gets it, and no one else gets it. So I think it would be cool if like and I think more games should do this, where like they're tied to a specific character, but like you can just choose them anyway. Like this happens in the Spider-Mans, right? In Sony Spider-Man, there's different powers that are tied to suits, but you can just mix and match because of not wanting to like limit your ability to customize your skins, right? I think it would be cool if they were like, this orb is tied to this character, but like if you're playing, you know, maybe the computer always uses the orb tied to them, but if you're playing as a human, you can just choose what your special orb is so that you're not stuck with like, you know, for everyone who wants to play as Wario and Waluigi, because Wario's based and you're a simp for Waluigi, you're stuck with the vacuum orb, and that like sucks ass because it sucks literally. However, I do think the minigames are very good. I really like a lot of the minigames. And I really like the boards. I really like the boards and how distinct they are from each other. I don't like the butchering of 2v2. I haven't really touched on 2v2. But I liked the 2v2s as like an option in... I think it's 5 and 6 are the only ones that have it. 4 might, but I'm not giving it credit, even though I should since it's the first one. Because I hate it. But I like 2v2, and 7 kind of butchers that by gluing you to your partner. So I think it loses points for that. I don't think I can justify putting it any higher than C tier. It has enough positive portions. If it weren't for the character orbs and the sabotaging of 2v2s, it would probably be in B tier. But I think I'm going to land it down to C tier. It might even go to A tier if it didn't have those negatives, because there's a lot of good stuff. I like Bowser Time. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna put it C tier. I'm gonna put it C tier. Mario Party 8. So the gimmick of 8 is motion controls, because it was the first one on the Wii. Basically everything is motion controls, and I find that frustrating. It was very indicative of Nintendo's sort of like approach to games at the time. Like, you don't roll dice by pressing the A button. You roll dice by punching upwards with your Wii control like you're the character jumping and hitting the dice block. Every single minigame is controlled with motion controls. And the Wii's motion controls kinda sucked ass, so it really gets in the way of, a lot, which is a shame because the boards of Mario Party 8 are some of the best boards in the series. And I will maintain that. We got fucking Boo's roguelike board. We got fucking the linear train. The train where you go to the front to buy a star, but then you can land on DK or Bowser events to switch the engineer from Toad, who will sell it to you, or I think it's Koopa? Someone who sells it to you. Someone normal sells it to you, right? It switches from... I think Shy Guy is the engineer. And they sell you a star for 20 coins. But if it switches to DK, then they give a free star to whoever. And if it switches to Bowser, they steal a star from whoever. So, like, it's a really cool approach to the linear board idea that was started with, like, I mean, I guess it wasn't started with Pagoda Peak, but it feels like Pagoda Peak's the first one to make it a gimmick. Like Peach's Birthday Cake, back in 1, was a linear board. But it doesn't feel like as much so as Pagoda Peak. Pagoda Peak feels like, when I think of a linear board, I think of Pagoda Peak. And the train feels like a better version of that. There's obviously the roguelike I talked about. Even fucking, Bowser's, like, Space Jam, I think it's called? Warped Orbit, yeah. Where you use the candies in order to steal, stars. So it's like the desert and snow in 5 and 6, or 6 and 7. But rather than using chain shops, you use items that are like in your inventory. I think that's a really cool twist on the star stealing boards. Oh yeah, candies is the sort of like the new item system that they tried out. And I think it's okay. It's basically just you use everything on yourself. I think there might be... Are there some space candies? I actually don't remember. I don't think there are. I think you use everything on yourself. So it's basically just a retooled version of the 1 through 3 items, if I remember correctly. A lot of the candies, like, transform you into stuff. So, like, a bowling ball to, like, roll over others, or, like, a spring to jump onto someone's space. I think it's okay. I prefer orbs, but I know they were trying to change things up. Yeah, 8 has a lot of positives in the boards. Like, it has the best boards in the series, which is why, like, the change they made in 9 kind of really sucks. Is because they kept improving on the board design, and then they just threw it all out the window. Best boards in the series, worst minigames. They're not only are they like all motion controls with bad motion controller, but they're all really simple motion controls, right? Like, point and shoot, the simplest point and shoot game you've ever seen. Shake the soda game that everyone, or maybe this is just indicative of the people I spend time with, but like the Shake the Soda game where everyone mimes either masturbating or sucking a cock. So that's, you know, that. Just the simplest fucking motion control games you've ever seen. And it also makes it, like, really hard to go back to by virtue of just, like, not being able to just plug in a GameCube controller. It was on the Wii. It should be GameCube controller compatible, but it's not. It's very frustrating. I think it lands in C tier as a result of that. The boards are so good, though. I really wish I could play Mario Party 8 boards, but with, like, any other game's minigames, because the minigames are real bad. The minigames would be F tier, or D tier. Maybe not F tier, but D tier. I think that the boards are S tier, and so we meet in the middle at C. Because I can't confidently say that I like it or 7 better, because, like, it does a lot better than even these games. Like, I prefer half the boards in 8 over, like, the boards in this. It's just that minigames are so bad, and, like, the motion controls are clunky throughout, because, like, you get to a forking of the road, you just gotta point with the Wiimote to which one you want. It's so annoying. It's actually quite obnoxious. I really don't like the forced motion controls. It's really annoying. Mario Party 9. I actually played quite a bit of Mario Party 9 specifically in anticipation of making this list because I wanted to form an opinion on it because I skipped this one. I skipped this in 10. And I played 9 because I wanted to get an opinion on it because everyone fucking hates 9. Everyone hates 9 for what it did with the cars. And so first off, I don't think this should have been named Mario Party 9. I think this should have been a spin-off. Making it a numbered entry set the expectations that, yes, Mario Party changes through the years, but it maintains the same general formula, and 9 is a big departure from that. And I think that it would be less hated if it were labeled as a spin-off, right, instead of having a number. And we had some spin-offs like Advance and DS by that time. That said, I do still think it falls pretty damn flat. I think it's so everyone says that the car is what ruined it. I actually don't think the car is what ruined it. I think that theoretically, having everyone in a car and switch turns to be captain, could have led to an interesting side mode. I don't think it ever should have been, a full Mario Party, but I think it could have been an interesting spin-off Mario Party, right? But unfortunately, they sort of butchered the economy in a huge way. So they made it much more chance reliant because there's no shops for purchasing items. In fact, the only way that you can get items is by being the captain and landing on an item space, like a blue item space, right? So the amount of control that you have over things is very limited, and your choices end up, like, when you do have control, choices branch in the road, it ends up being like there's an obviously correct versus incorrect one. There's no risk reward. So that's the first mistake. Second mistake is, like, rather than having the coins and stars economy that has been a mainstay since 1, where you use coins to get stars, but you can also use coins to get items or other advantages like paying toll booth. The end goal is to have the most stars, but, like, coins get you there either by purchasing the stars directly or by purchasing things that help you, whether that's going a path, going an item, etc., etc. Like, coins as a secondary economy are a big part of why Mario Party works. Mario Party 9 got rid of that and just made mini-stars. You collect mini-stars either by winning mini-games, or by being the captain when the car crosses the mini-stars area. And they did have, like, mini-stars, which are negative stars, that, like, subtract from your point. So generally the idea is like, you know, if you're the captain, you can try to take a path that'll give negative stars to the next captain, right? To try to like sabotage them. It's really the only decision you have, but like it's never a tactical decision because it's always just like, there'll be a fork in the road, right? And on the left side, there's like +5 stars. And on the right side, there's -5 stars. And they're both 3 spaces away, and it's just like, oh, am I going to be in charge when I go to the plus, or is someone else? Because if I rolled a 3 or higher, then I go to the plus, so I gain 3. If I rolled a 1 or a 2, then I go to the minus so that the next person gains them, right? And it's never actually a tactical decision, it's just like there's an obviously correct one. So it's all very reliant on RNG or your scores in the minigames. The minigames are okay. They're still a decent amount of motion control jank. Granted, they're not all motion control jank. Some of them are like actually pretty okay, decent-ish Mario minigames. I like the idea of like the fighting the minions minigames. A lot of those are really creative. I think those are the ones that people remember when people say that this has the best minigames. Because those tend to be very fun and creative, and I think it's cool to have you simultaneously working as a team to try to defeat the boss, but also competing against each other for who does the best defeating the boss, right? Like, for those who don't know, the boards are super linear, and you fight 2 bosses along the way. One who's working for Bowser Jr. and one who's working for Bowser. And they give you boss fight minigames. So, for example, like, if the boss fight minigame is against Lakitu, Lakitu has a health bar, and there's a bunch of dice that roll between 1 bullet, 2 bullet, 3 bullet, and Spiny. And you try to hit the dice with the max number of bullets in order to shoot those bullets at Lakitu. And you get points for every bullet that you shoot at Lakitu. So the more damage you deal to him, the more you individually, like, gain. But if you hit a Spiny, it, like, releases a Spiny that could hurt you or your teammates if they run into it. You win if you dealt the most damage to Lakitu, but also Lakitu has a health bar. And if you as a team fail to kill him, then you don't kill him and no one wins. And I think that that's a really cool approach to, at least my understanding is that that's how it works. I might be getting gas-lamped by the game because the game does say you can fail, but in the 3 rounds that I played, granted I was playing with hard computers, so maybe with easies you could fail, but I didn't see us fail a single boss fight, so it's possible you just can't fail and the game is lying. But that illusion is cool, I guess. So where does this end up putting Mario Party 9? Well, they fucked the economy, and made it just, like, very, very chance-based. The minigames are okay, but most of the non-boss minigames are just okay. Okay to bad, honestly. I do want to talk about how, like, I think the game could have been improved. The only items available are dice blocks, right? There's a 0 to 1 dice block, and there's a 4, 5, 6 dice block, and then there's some other, like, more advanced ones that you can get, like custom, I think is one of them. I think that, one, there should have been coins, and, like, everyone gets coins for minigames instead of mini-stars, and you only get mini-stars by going over them on the boards. And I think there should be, like, shops that the car passes, and everyone can purchase from the shops when the car passes them. And you can purchase the dice blocks to have those for tactical decisions. And maybe even, like, allow people to initially purchase an item before the game even starts, like a shop at the start, so that there's actual decisions going on when you're in the captain's seat. So you could be like, you know, you see a fork in the road, and there's a good side and a bad side, and the person after you is winning. You can use a low roll die, like a 0 to 1 die, to intentionally make sure you're not going to hit the bad side, and choose the fork in the road that goes to the negative, right? Like, just allow some amount of onboard strategy instead of functionally just RNG. Like, there's hints at onboard strategy in, like, some of the captain events, like Nine Island in the first map, which lets the captain, like, choose the order, but even that just ends up being, like, the captain just, since they don't have to choose the order at the start, but they instead choose the order as it goes, the captain can just, like, choose themselves when they're able to get to the end. So I think, like, making the economy have both coins and stars and allowing for shops instead of only getting items by landing on spaces would go a long way towards making this not bad. I think it's better than 4 and 1. just on account of the fact that the minigames, the boss minigames, are good enough to carry it up there. I think the boards are bad. I think that they fucking butchered the economy beyond recognition by eliminating economy, by just making it mini-stars. But I can see a world in which a few changes would bring this up to like a B or C tier. But as of right now, it's just not there. I have never played 10. I've heard that it like is a worse version of 9 and a better version of 9. I know that like Bowser mode exists where one person plays as Bowser, and I think that everyone who says it's better probably just likes Bowser mode, because everything I hear good is about Bowser mode. But I've never played it, so I'm not going to judge it. I really did not enjoy my time with 9. That's why I only played 3 of the boards, even though there's like 7, I think. I wanted to get a hang of the boards other than just the beginner one so that I could more accurately be like, are the issue where there's no tactics on the board just the fact that it's a beginner board? And I can pretty much definitively say no, it's not. Like, there's very little tactical decisions to be made even on the advanced boards. I never unlocked the Donkey Kong or Bowser boards, which are the final ones, but I still think that there was like no tactical decision to be made. Even on the harder, not Donkey Kong and Bowser boards. It's possible that the Donkey Kong and Bowser boards are the only ones where there's tactical decisions, and if that's the case, like, well, fuck me then, I guess, but I'm not delving back into it to discover that. Mario Party Advance is a really weird one to rank, because it's not really a Mario Party game, it's a single-player game, where, like, it pretends to be Mario Party, because there's mini-games, and you roll dice to go around the board, but it's, like, closer to an RPG than anything. You're like going around solving quests in order to get rewards. Yeah, you're like solving, like there's a bank robbery you gotta solve. There's like a set a Goomba up on a date. There's a couple of quests where the quest is just, I want Luigi's autograph, you should be playing as Luigi, because you choose either Luigi, Toad, Yoshi, or Mario. Or not Luigi, Toad, Mario. Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, or Mario. And, like, some of the quests are just, like you run into someone who's just like, I'm a simp for Princess Peach. I'll give her a reward if you're playing as her. So it's really weird. It's really fucking weird. The board isn't linear either. You roll dice to decide how many spaces you go, but then you can go, like, whichever direction you want. You just have to move that many spaces. It's a really interesting game. I don't think I'll ever play it again. I played it when I was in high school, on my old Nintendo PC. I think that it's probably... I think that it is C tier, but it's significantly worse than 8 or 7, to the extent that I think 8 and 7 probably belong in B tier. B tier has been empty. We'll just consider there's a bigger gap between A and B because of that, like, emptiness. But I think that it is better than 2 and 9, but worse than 8 and 7, so, like, it belongs in a C tier, in there. This is card game Mario Party. I had to look up the image to see what it was. I've never even heard of this fucking thing. I think it's, like, e-readers, from the fact that it says, like, card game. I think it's probably e-reader cards. I'll be honest, with it as small as it is, I thought it said Gamergate Mario Party, which would be certainly something. I'm putting it never played, though, because I've never played it. It's probably bad because it's an e-reader game, and those are notoriously poorly handled. People are going to hate me for this, but I've also never played Mario Party DS. I've been told it belongs in, like, one of these 2 tiers, and it probably does. I just haven't played it. I imagine it's probably closer to A because touchscreen stuff, similar to, like, how motion controls drag down 8. I mean, maybe for me it would be in B, because I love 8's boards, but the minigames are trash. And if the same is true of DS, then I would probably put it here too. But I haven't played it, so I won't judge it. I want to play it. I want to play it, so, you know, if anyone wants to play it with me, you know, I'm willing to try it out. What is this? Island Tour? Also never played it. That sounds like a mobile game, though, like, so fuck that if it is, because they tend to be bad. Star Rush? I think this one is also hated. there was like an era of a bunch of Mario Party games that were really hated. Top 100 is also very hated. I'll be honest, I played it briefly. It's just a minigame collection. Some of the minigames are okay. But for me, minigame mode was never really what Mario Party's about. You gotta have the board play. I think some of the minigames are okay, so it probably belongs here instead of an F. Because, like, these are nothing but Buzzsquirm is redeemable about these two. I don't remember even what games are in it. I remember there's some questionable choices. I remember that the top 100 was, like, memed on because, like, there's some bad games in there. But there's some good ones. But there's some bad games in there. Super Mario Party. Oh, I want to put this one higher than I'm going to. There's some cool stuff in it, but there's some bad stuff too. So the cool stuff, I like the idea of the custom not custom die blocks, but the character die blocks. I again think that it leads to a similar thing with Mario Party 7, where like, even worse, because in 7 it's every 2 characters. In Super, it's individual to a character, right? So for those who don't know, you can roll a regular die block, or you can roll your character's die block. So like if you're Wario gets his own Wario block. Monty Mole gets his own Monty Mole block, right? And they vary in terms of usefulness. The regular die block is like 1 through 6, I think. And then the character die blocks are like, sometimes they'll be like risk reward, sometimes they'll be like middle of the road type deal. I think it's Monty Mole has like all 4s on his. Someone has like a 3, 4, and a 5 as the only options. I know Bowser has like 10, 10, 10, and then like you can roll that's not a number. You can roll a roll that's like lose 10 coins instead of moving, so you move 0 spaces and lose coins. And then like, it's funny too, because like if you're on a chance or a happening space and you roll a number that's not a number, you get the like minus or plus coins, because sometimes there's some dice that have plus coins instead, and then activate the chance time a second time, so like happening star is just in the fucking bag. That's it. There's a few issues. One is like, it's super unbalanced, right? Like I think it's weird when there's like characters who have a distinct advantage, right? In Mario Party, I don't like that. I think it would be cool if, like I mentioned with 7, you could just pick what dice block your person has. Then there's allies, where when you get an ally, the ally will... So first off, you then get their dice block, right? So like, allies are any of the people who aren't being played. So like, let's say no one is playing as Waluigi. You can get an ally who's Waluigi by landing on an ally space. And suddenly you can use, like if you're Wario and you get Waluigi as an ally, you can use regular dice block, Wario dice block, or Waluigi dice block, which is already strong, like having multiple options for free. It doesn't cost an item, it's for free. You can do as many times as you want their dice block. But even more so than that, now the ally also rolls for you, and they roll 0 through 2 and add it to your dice. And that's absurd. Because it means that you like fucking just move even more. Like, allies just make you snowball so hard. They're the most busted thing that Mario Party has ever introduced. The mini games are more gimmicky, like much like 8. It's like, hey, Joy-Cons exist, let's do Joy-Con stuff. I actually think they work better in Super, because the Joy-Cons are like much better as a control scheme than the Wiimote is. So there's some really neat ones, like shaking candy out of the jar, or like feeling for things inside of boxes. There's just like a lot of cool Joy-Con-centric minigame stuff. And I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think I like that. I was gonna say I like that, but I would appreciate if there were some non-mission control ones. But actually, no, I like that. I like that a lot. The allies drags it down. The dice blocks thing ultimately feels like a negative, even though it's a cool idea. And then the worst thing is there's only 4 boards, and they're all really small. And somehow turns feel like they take forever. which is really annoying because the boards are small, but the turns take forever and a half. It just feels like everything is a lot slower and clunkier than it needs to be, which I should have mentioned in 4, like character movement speed is super slow and can't be adjusted. And a similar thing happens in Super. And it sucks because there are positive aspects of Super. I think some of the boards are, like, okay. And I don't think any of them are great, actually. I think they're just okay. All of them are just okay. None of them are bad, but none of them are good. They're just okay. But they're all small, and there's only 4 of them, so there's, like, no variety. If it's your only Mario Party game, like, there's no variety. You're just replaying the same boards. And you have to unlock one of the 4, too. I'm not going to dock it for how long it took Nintendo to enable board gameplay online, because that's a Nintendo problem, that's not a Mario Party problem. That's Nintendo not knowing how to do fucking online multiplayer. The only online option was like fucking online mini games where you don't even get to choose the game. It's so dumb. They finally fixed it in like an update, and then they dropped Superstars like 5 days later. Slight exaggeration, but it was very soon afterwards. It was so fucking stupid and dumb. I think this belongs in the D tier because even though it has a lot of positive aspects around it, it's just dragged down too much. I think that a lot of the positive reception for it was because it had been so long since we had a traditional good Mario Party. Like, we were stuck with 9, 10, Top 100, all the 3DS ones that are trash garbage, the card game Gamergate thing, and we were like, finally, a real Mario Party! It's been 10,000 years! And there's some positive aspects of it, but I can't ignore all the negative. I really can't. And that sucks, because I like the positive things. That sucks. I'm moving these around. Again, these are not ordered in tiers, but it felt weird that this was under 9. But they're not ordered in tiers. They're not ordered in tiers, I promise. Especially in up here areas. Like, maybe this one is a little ordered, because I just eyeballed it. There. Now this is ordered in the tier, but the others are not. No other tier is ordered. Like, these are equivalent, these are equivalent, these are equivalent. Superstars, it's hard, because this is, like, it's functionally kind of a remake and kind of not. So it takes boards from 1 through 3 and minigames from, I think, 1 through 7. But the mechanics are different. Like, when you're playing on a board of 1, you still get 3 items. When you're playing on a board of 2, you still get 3 items. When you're playing on a board of 3, I mean, that's not mechanically different, but the item pool is different. Like, there's no Wacky Watch, there's no Negative Mushroom. The items vary from board to board, and that's often just based on what game it's from, right? Like, Chomp Call is the equivalent of the Evil Genie from 3. It just moves the star, but on like the Mario Party 1 boards, where the star doesn't have star spaces, it's in a static place, like Peach's Birthday Cake and Yoshi's Tropical Island, it can't possibly exist, right? So there's no Chomp Call. I guess Mario Party 1 did have at least one board with... No, it had a couple, because Donkey Kong's Jungle, Wario's Battlefield, I think those are the only 2 with moving star spaces. Oh, like Eternal Star. Fuck that board, though. But yeah, Superstars is interesting to rate. I think ultimately I land with it like here. It's pretty fun. The turns tend to go by really quickly too. It just feels smooth and snappy to play. It doesn't quite feel like you're playing the games. Like if you're playing a 2 board or a 3 board or a 1 board, even the 3 boards don't quite feel like you're playing 3 because, like, the items are toned down and the economy is rebalanced as well. And, like, I've mentioned the economy a lot. Like, the thing I harped on with 9 is the economy. That's because I really do believe that the economy is, like, what defines a Mario Party game experience. And so I think that by reusing some of the better boards from each of those games and some of the better mini games from each of those games, but changing the economy, they gave a whole new experience. Like, it feels very different to play Woody Woods in Superstars than it does in 3. That said, the fact that Woody Woods is the only board from 3 that's in Superstars is a travesty. And I really wish, it's not gonna happen, but I really wish they would make a DLC with, like, more boards. Like, I would buy that in a fucking heartbeat. I just want to play on the other boards. Not that I dislike, like, I think their selection of boards was pretty good. I know some people meme on, like, Lamau Peach's Birthday Cake. I think the changes they made to Peach's Birthday Cake actually make it a much better experience. Because yes, it is still linear, it's very much reliant on your dice roll, but, like, the existence of mushrooms in the shop, boom. Game changer. The fact that the happening space is now can steal coins for 5 or steal stars for 30, gives you that tactical aspect of, like, now you're investing in the economy. You're using your coin economy to invest into your star economy, right? Or you're using it to invest into your coin economy. And sort of determining whether that is worth spending or whether you want to keep it for getting the star, for getting an item. It's actually a fun experience to play on Peach's Birthday Cake. Ditto Yoshi's Tropical Island. You still have the, like, fucking pay the toll on Yoshi's Island and, like, lock people out type deal, which can be annoying, and it's like the rich get richer Lamau. But it is still, like, I don't know, it's a very different experience. Like, the existence of items, like, you can now instead of in 1 where you just, like, get fucked, you can now use the warp pipe and be like, nah, rich person, you get fucked. Like, now you're on the wrong island. So it's like, there's more play options. I think I'm talking myself up because it allows us to play the nostalgia boards without dealing with the nostalgia bullshit. It's definitely worse than 3 because it doesn't have all the good boards from 3 and it doesn't have, like, give me the wacky items. I love the wacky items. Yeah, that's my list. Let me know in the comments what you think. Maybe if I play these, like maybe if I play the Gamergate, I'll update the list. If I only play DS, I probably won't make a new video because it's just like one item, or not one item, one game. But I've heard it's a good one. If you want to play Mario Party with me, we play Mario Party on the Discord, so go ahead and join. Link in the description, unless I forgot to, in which case, you know, comment and tell me, because professional streamer. Bye!